It is men like Byron Donalds, representative from Florida, who has woken up to the lies and the realization that voting Democrat, voting for liberal policies does nothing but put us back on the plantation. All this next on Common Sense.
Common sense told us that when you put a big tax on something, the people will produce less of it. So we cut the people's tax rates, and the people produced more than ever before. The economy bloomed like a plant that had been cut back and could now grow quicker and stronger.
Welcome, all you purveyors of common sense. I'm the Common Sense Conservative coming to you with another video here on this lovely Friday evening. And today we're going to be reviewing the short clip from the CPAC, Byron Donalds, and what he thinks is going on in the Democrat and Republican Party and where it's going. And something he says at the end really stuck to me, being Hispanic American, another minority group. I can relate, through my heritage and my legacy of what he's talking about. So let's get into it. Roll it.
Gotta have his leadership who's gonna stand for the rule of law, that's gonna stand for Lady Justice. Lady Justice is supposed to be blind, not political. Lady Justice is supposed to be even-handed, not deciding that a Green New Deal is way more important than a basic rule of law that everybody can see and follow. You got this stupid judge in New York with the $400 million fine. What kind of craziness is this? By the way, to you business owners in New York, come to Florida. If you're a real estate guy in New York, you might want to just come on down to the Sunshine State. We would love to have you. I had to do that quick plug for my state. I love my state now.
Make America Florida!
Dude said, "Make America Florida."
Said, "Make America Florida." Oh, we're gonna do that. I want to make one clear point, because we talk a lot now about a two-tier justice system. We have to acknowledge that in America's history, there has been a two-tier justice system. There is a reason why a lot of black Americans do not trust the justice system. Because there was a time where the justice system was abused against black people in this country. It was wrong then. It is still wrong today.
And that's what I was talking about. It's that last little bit. Now, it was great when the guy said, "Make America Florida." I agree. Pretty great state. But it's at the end is where I really want to focus, the topic of this video. The Democrats were the ones who owned the plantations before the Civil War. They're the ones who had the slaves. They're the ones who put people in chains. It wasn't just black people. It was Hispanics also. There were Chinese. There were Irish. There were plenty of slaves. And but they're the ones who had you on the plantation. And if you think about it, a lot of the Democrat policies are just modern day versions of plantation policies. They tell you, back then they told you what to eat, where to sleep, what to wear, who you can marry, how many children you can have. Those were plantation policies, right? The master got to tell us that. Well, you look at it today. Welfare tells you, or not welfare, but food stamps tells you what you can eat. Welfare tells you what you can wear. Uh, Housing, low income housing, whatever you want to call it, tells you where you can eat and sleep. Um, if you want to keep your housing, you get married, your income gets too high, you lose your housing. So that tells you who you can marry and not marry. Tells you how many kids you can and can't have. They really push for abortion that disproportionately affects the black community. Um, I mean, if you look, these are just modern day. They just figured out a different way to put us all back on the plantation. And I woke up to it. And I saw what they were doing. And you look at those policies, every one of them was instituted by a Democrat. They said, hey, if we keep them dumb, broke, malnourished, guess what? We can control them. They'll vote for us next 100 years. You see, that's my problem with the Democrat Party. And he spoke to it because the two-tier justice system was another attempt in the late 50s and early 60s that to put us all back on the plantation. Democrats did that. It wasn't until the Civil Rights Act of 1964 where all men were equal in the eyes of the law and must be treated fairly and equally that, we started to make a change and move forward. So if it was wrong back in, the late 50s, 60s, early 60s until the Civil Rights Act of 1964, if it was so wrong that they had to literally write a law, an act, to say, hey, this is wrong, which it included a whole lot more than that, but that was a portion of the Civil Rights Act. If it was wrong then to stand up like Letitia James and yell to all the people from your high and mighty throne, I will get Trump. I will sue him. I will wake up, go into the office and sue him and go home, and I will do that every single day. That's a two-tier justice system. Because let me tell you, what they convicted Trump or concluded on Trump, I guess you would say, or fined Trump for, every single real estate agent, if you ever sold your home in this country, you have done the same thing and you have committed fraud. Because I guarantee you, if you went to sell your home and the bank said, or the person buying it said how much you want for it, and it's worth $250,000 from an appraiser, and you looked that man in the face or that woman in the face or that family in the face and said, well, I want $400,000 for it, you just overevaluated your property. You're guilty. Pay that fine. So yeah, it's time for all minorities to get up off that plantation. Because since 1964, minorities have predominantly voted Democrat, majorly voted Democrat. And all we doing is we just locking in another ring on the chain that binds us. Because the more we vote for them, the more this country goes downhill. And the more this country goes downhill, the poorer minorities get. And the poorer we get, the more under their thumb and under their control we get. So you see, let's get up off that plantation and let's keep common sense common.
Common sense told us that when you put a big tax on something, the people will produce less of it. So we cut the people's tax rates, and the people produced more than ever before. The economy bloomed like a plant that had been cut back and could now grow quicker and stronger.